You might prefer me as a heritage tomato before this is all over. I think I'll read to you almost entirely today from a book that doesn't exist. It's this one. It'll exist next year, I should think. A manuscript for a book, you know. And yeah, we'll start with this one, called The Toppled Head. A big bald head is asleep like linen on a pavement. Tipping backward, it starts a great mouth-breathing snore, throttling a stormwater, loud as a hangar door running on rails. But his companion gently reshapes his pillow, till his position's once more fetal, breathing towards his feet. His timbre goes silent, and the glottal dies in a gulp. I better find my watch so I don't go over time. One thing you'll see in London and never hear is occasionally British officers who've been seconded to Buckingham Palace on royal duty, and they wear their special uniforms, which are usually about 150 years old, you know, real dress uniforms. Fascinating figures. Definitions. This will not try to imitate a British accent, it'll try to imitate a British sort of cadence. Okay, definitions. Effete, a pose of palace cavalry officers in plum Crimean fig, spurs and pointed boots. Not at all the stamp of tight-buttoned guards executing arm geometry in the shouting yards, but sitting his vehicle listening to tanks change gears. Amid oncoming fusiliers, one murmurs the style that has carried his cohort to this day, and now will test them. You have to kill them, Giles, you can't arrest them. There's a member of the Scots Guards who told me that. The conversations. I'm very fond of trivia. And you know, the stuff that you read on panty liners and things. The conversations. A full moon always rises at sunset, and a person is taller at night. Many fear their phobias more than death. The glass king of France feared he'd shatter. Chinese eunuchs kept their testes in spirit. Your brain can bleed from a sneeze breath. A full moon always rises at sunset, and a person is taller when prone. Donald Duck was once banned in Finland because he didn't wear trousers. His loins were feather-girt like daisies, but no ostrich hides its head in sand. The cure for scurvy was found, then long lost through medical theory. The beginning is a steady white sound. The full moon rises at sunset, and lemurs and capuchin monkeys pass a millipede round to get off on its powerful secretions. Mouthing it, they wriggle in bliss on the ground. The heart of a groomed horse slows down. A fact is a small compact faith, a sense datum to beasts, a power to man, even if true, even while true. We read these laws in Isaac Newton. One woman had 69 children. Some lions made 50 times a day. Napoleon had a victory addiction. A full moon always rises at sunset. Soldiers can now get in the family way. The first person to be run over by a Sydney tram was Isaac Nathan in 1864. He was a friend of Lord Byron's, who was more or less run out of England for sleeping with Lady Caroline Lamb. And everybody did that, but I mean, he got in Dutch with her husband, who was the Prime Minister. And he ended up in Sydney, and he took down the first transcriptions of Aboriginal music. He wrote a couple of operas in Sydney, and he was quite a cultural figure in his time. Never could make up his mind whether he had actually left Judaism and become an Anglican or not, so none of the clergy were sure either. The death of Isaac Nathan, 1864. Stone statues of ancient waves, tongue like dingoes on shore, in time with wave glitter on the harbour. But the shake-a-leg chants of the Eora are rarely heard there anymore. And the white man who drew their nasals as footprints on 5-line paper lies flat away up on Pitt Street, lies askew on gravel Pitt Street. Jumping off startled horses come men and other men down off the horse tram, which ladies stay aboard and cram their knuckles in their teeth because a grandson of the last king of Poland is lying behind the rear wheels, lying in his blood and his music sheets, where he missed his step and fell. To be Sydney's tramway's first victim, Byron's Hebrew melodist, driven out of London by Lord Melbourne, by the inked horns of Lord Melbourne, is now being lifted tenderly. He, the Anglican who used to pray wrapped in a white shawl, is being wrapped in a tarpaulin and carried in catch-up cadence with crotchets he might have scored, carried over streets to his residence to lie in state on his table, Our Father and Melech HaOlam, then to go in a bourdon to Newtown and sleep near the real Miss Havisham. Observing the mute cat. We've got a cat, a Russian grey, who can't meow, but he's a good cat. Observing the mute cat. Clean water in the house, but the cat laps up. I'll muck that sentence up, I'll try again. Clean water in the house, but the cat laps up clay water outside, drinking the earth. His pile, being perfect, ignores the misting rain. A charcoal Russian, he opens his mouth like other cats and mimes a greeting mew. At one bound, top speed across the lawn and halfway up the zippy pear tree. Why? Branches. Stopping puzzles him. Eloquent of purr or indignant tail, he politely hates to be picked up. His human friend never does it. He finds a voice in the fly screen, rattling it, hanging cruciform on it, all to be let in to walk on his man. He can fish food pellets out of the dispenser, but waits, preferring to be served. A mouse he was playing in the grass ran in under him. Disconsolate, at last he wandered off, and drew and fired himself in one motion. He is often above you and appears where you will go. He swallows his scent, and discreet with his few stained birds, he carries them off to read. I thought up a phrase one day talking about my poor old mother-in-law who was in an old people's home, what do you call it, a nursing home. And there was an old Hungarian lady there who used to hold hands with my mother-in-law and address her as her brother. And I said to my wife, yeah, never outlive yourself. And my wife said, oh, that's good, I want that in Latin. And so I said, well, I'm not good enough. I know the fellow who can put that into Latin for you. So we went and found him, Stephen Edgar, husband of the previous poet. And so the first line of this poem is in Latin, but it's immediately translated. Nursing home. Ne tibi supersis. Don't outlive yourself. Panic or break a hip or spit puree at the staff at the end of gender. Never a happy ender. Yet in the pastel light of indoors there is a lady who has distilled to love beyond the fall of memory, who sits holding hands with an ancient woman who calls her brother and George, as bees summarise the garden. Fame. We were at dinner in Soho, and the couple at the next table rose to go. The woman paused to say to me, I just wanted you to know I've got all your cookbooks and I swear by them. I managed to answer her, ma'am, they've done you nothing but good, which was perhaps immodest of whoever I am. This was a conversation I had with a bloke once from the Royal Blind Society. One of those indiscreet conversations where you ask, have you always been blind? And they tell you and you learn things. Phone canvas. Chatting after the donation part, the Blind Society's caller answered my shy questions. And I love it on the street, all the echo and air pressure, people in my forehead. And metal, stone, brick, the buildings passing in one side of my head. I can hear you smiling. This one is called King Lear Had Alzheimer's, which I think is literally true. I think it's a very good record of a clinical description of Alzheimer's syndrome. That play. King Lear had Alzheimer's. The great feral novel every human is in is ruthless. It exists to involve and deflate. It is the meek talking. The great feral novel is published, not written. Science bits may be written. Media grope in its shallows. The real story is their owners. The feral novel can get you told the lies about you, let you hear the line about you. It may even tell the truth if truth is the cool story. Any farmer who breaks in suicide, some lots politicians wanted him, oh, don't say dead, gone. Dead doesn't always die. The folk novel's eyes did register the barbed wire and how to get behind it. Being in the novel helped a lot in, it says, some out. A father jealous of one son's bush skills failed to prove himself the better man and caused a younger son's death trying. When the skilled son complained at being kept dependent and dirt poor for punishment, only others listened. And others don't back you in plots not their own. In theirs they may be hero even to acquaintances. But then if they rise into notice, into print, fellow convicts eye them. The man next door cursed our builder's noise. He was writing a book. So we scoffed through the hedge, shops would sell him a book. The great feral novel heaped up streets full of flowers for the faux demure princess, then sniggered them away. What survives, survives this. Brown suits. I used to work for a Prime Minister once called John Gorton, a long time ago, and he did a couple of great things. This is one of them. The poem is called Brown Suits. Sorting clothes for movie costume. Chocolate suits of bull market cut. Slim blade ties ending in fringes. Brimmed felt hats and the sideburn pork pie ones that served them. I lived then. The right grade of suit coat, unbuttoned, can still get you a begrudged free meal in a cafe. But seat sweat off sun vinyl, ghostly through many dry cleans and the first deodorants. I lived then, and worked for the man who abolished bastards. The Prime Minister who said on air, "I'm what you call a bastard, illegitimate," and drove a last stake through that lousiest distinction. I think it's a great achievement to finish off that bit of law. The suspect corpse. The dead man lay nibbled between dark carriages of a rocky river. A curled load of himself in cheap clothes crusted in dried water. Noisy oar, nose crimped, sent us up the gorge to jail in case we were hoaxing. Following us back down next morning, forensics mentioned his wishbone, but never could pry any names from between his teeth. Not his own, nor who had lashed his ankles or put boulders in his clothes. After 3 months he could only generalise and had started smiling. Sometimes when you're travelling abroad, of course, you'll come across gum trees, particularly in California, but Spain, Middle East, Africa, all sorts of places. Eucalypts in exile. They've had so many jobs. Boiling African porridge, being printed on, sopping up malaria, flying in Paris uprisings, supporting a stork's nest in Spain. Their suits are neater abroad, of denser drape, unnibbled. They've left their parasites at home. They flower out of bullets and without any taproot draw water from way deep. Blown down in high winds, they reveal the black sun of that trick. Standing around among shed limbs and loose craquelure of bark is home country stuff. But fire is ingrained. They explode the mansions of Malibu because to be eucalypts they have to shower sometimes in hell. Their humans, meeting them abroad, often grab and sniff their hands. Lovable singly or unmarshalled, they're merciless in a gang. How are we for time? Yeah. Croc. That was another animal we wanted to see not come back. Croc. This police car with a checkered seam of blue and white teeth along its side lies in cover like a long-jawed flat dog beside the traffic stream. I learned from the Macquarie, you see, that flat dog is Northern Territory language for a crocodile. This was a lovely experience, which I had a year or so ago. High-speed bird. At full tilt, air gleamed and a window-struck kingfisher, snatched up, lay on my palm, still beating faintly. Slowly, a tincture of whatever consciousness is infused its tremor, and ram beak wide as scissors, all hurt loganberry inside, it crept over my knuckle and took my outstretched finger in its wire foot rings. Cobalt wings, shutting on beige body, gold under-eye whiskers, beak closing in recovery. It faced outward from me. For maybe 20 minutes we sat together, one-on-one, as if staring back or forward into prehistory. My daughter bought herself a farm, she and her husband, steep one like that. And she wanted a name for it, and I suggested several. She wouldn't have them, threw them out. So I kept them and put them in this farm. The cow ladder stands us. Not from a weather direction, black cockatoos come crying over, unflapping as Blériot monoplanes to crash in pine tops for the cones. Young dogs, neighbours' dogs, across the creek, bark chained off the cows, choked off play, bark untiring as a night-sick baby, yap, milking times to dark, plead, ute dancing, dope-eyed dogs. Red-hot pokers up and out of their tussock, Kniphofia flowers, overlapping many scarlet jubes, form rockets on a stick, ignitions mimed by yellow petticoats. Like all its kind, python has a hair lip, through which it aims its tongue at eye-bursting hair. Thinking up names for a lofty farm, high wallet, cow terraces, fog sheep, rainside, helmet brush, tip camber, dingo leap. My boyhood farm cousin spoke French, and I understood fluently, but not in this world. It happened just one time in my early urban sleep. I know, as they may prefer, a little of the beekeeper family who've lived for years inside tall kindling of their forest, in old car bodies, sheds and the rotted like sailcloth of their first shore day. And the blue wonga pigeon walks under garden trees, and pumpkins lean like wheels out of their nurturing trash. We climbed the Kokoda track, Goora pigeon, rain, cow. Dad said after the war they wanted soldier settlement blocks in New Guinea. This was struck down by a minister named Hasluck, Paul Hasluck. Dad's grateful now. It would have been bloody mau. This one, that's sort of the country I come from, but this is country I haven't been in, but I've always been fascinated by it. Farm terraces, you know, steep country, terrace for growing rice and things. The farm terraces. Beautiful, merciless work around the slopes of earth. Terraces cut by curt hoe at the orders of hunger or a pointing lord. Levels eyed up to rhyme, copied from grazing animals round the steeps of earth. Balconies filtering water down stage to stage of drop. Wind-stirred colours of crop swelled between walked buns that recall the beast tracks. Harvest down from the top by hands long in the earth. Baskets of rich made soil boosted up poor by the poor. Ladder by freestone prop. Stanzas of chant-long lines by back-wrenching slog before money gave food and drunk. but rip now like slatted sails. Some always did damn do, down the abrupts of earth. My wife got her eyes fixed finally. She had trouble with them for a long time. Had them lasered, and then that needed to be upgraded a bit. But she's finally got perfect vision for the first time in years. And I wrote her a Christmas poem about it called The Sphere. She is delighted afresh every dawn to unlid perfect nothing. That sphere which extends from the blue beneath her lashes clear out to the horizons of the detail balloon that contains all the air. Blues she sang for years through colour washes are gone with the thickening glasses that narrowed reading and blind girl craftwork, the contacts that sucked, bleeding. Since technology got up off a red conveyor, razored an aqueous ring and lasing a layer, skimmed all that history off her inner sky, side clouds have vanished. She needn't stand demurely fuming among ignorers. Now she rises to her character. Yeah, two more. One's very short, just called The Springfields. Back farming, and lead drains out of a burning rail. Their civil war. Which ended the other day, I guess. Oh, no, here's one that I missed and I must read to you. A frequent flyer proposes a name. Sexburger Street is a steep mud lane, but Sexburger, she was Queen of Kent 14 centuries ago. She tried to rule as well as reign, but her tough spear thanes grated, "No, she's but a weef man, a loafenedder. We will not obey a bodice feeder." No precedent, said Witton, quite unkent. So on Sheppey Isle she built a convent. But now, in an era more Amazon, the notion has come to the Jarl of London, white-polled Boris, to move Heathrow east to the marshy Thames outflow, so jetliners may leave their keening cry over the Channel and grim North Sea. And Celtic queens have ruled, Boudica, Bess, but your Saxon ones still wait redress. Savour this name, London Sexburger Airport. I like Sexburger. A name you can conjure with. Right, our last poem. There was a poet in Greece in the 6th century BC called Hesiod, of whom I'm still very fond. And I imagine that all poets are still at work somewhere, you know, and this is his poem on bushfire in Victoria. Hesiod on bushfire. Poxes of the sun or of the mind bring the force 10 firestorms. After them come same surname funerals. Junk theory, praise of mateship. Love the gum forest, camp out in it, but death hosts your living in it, brother. You need buried space and cellars have a convict fetor. Only pubs kept them, houses shook them off wherever diggers moved to. Only Opal Desert digs home by dozer, the cool hobbit answer. Cellars, really bunkers, mustn't sit under the fuel your blazing house will be. But aside, refractory roofed, tight against igniting air miles. Power should be tunnelled to you from fortress suburbia, and your treasures stay there, where few now grow up in the fear of grass. Never build on a summit or a gully top. Fire's an uphill racer, deliriously welcomed by growth it cures of growth. Avoid a ridgeline, it strips those like ribs. Sex is fire in the ancient law. Investment is fire. Grazing beasts are fire. Backburning paddocks to the door like a winter cool burn gang. Foreign trees and giant fig trees are water. Flashing vehicles are TV. But unblocked roads and straight volunteers are life-saving spume spray. Water and fire chase each other in jet planes. May you never flee through them at a generation's end, as when the Great Depression ended, or Golden Melbourne. Thank you.